Hello everyone, my name is Mille and welcome back to another video. Today, the Best of British finale, and in this video I will go more in depth into the event and its prologue, showing the difficulties for each car for the lock-in order that I used and give you my overall feeling on the event, which as of now, if I'm being honest, is still a bit mixed. But before we start, some more background information first to set the scene. The Best of British series launched by the end of October of last year, and there has been a total of 5 events and a build-up to this finale. Each of these 5 events also had a prologue, giving out special rewards for the car you had to buy to use in the main event. In each of these 5 events you had the opportunity to buy Best of British car, being the McLaren Senna, the Noble M600, Ginetta Aquila, Ultima RS and the TVR Sagaris, with the end goal to win the Speedtail. Each and one of them are hardcore British race cars, not the prettiest ones out there, but definitely super effective. Now we get to the peak moment again where we see this trend of a prologue-like event and the finale itself, though this time, aside of them being both for British cars, there isn't really a relationship between the two. This can be either a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're playing for. For those still needing parts for the Legends car on its own, this is a great solo event, but in terms of support for the main event, it doesn't really have an added value. The side event consists of 3 lock-ins and 15 races for each car, with a total rewarding 3 uncommon, 3 rare fusion parts and 1 stage 6 part for each car. But keep in mind to lock in your fastest cars first so you don't get stuck. For example, my XJ220 is still stock, so for the first 2 slots I think I'll go for the DB5 and the F1 and just don't race the last one. But other than that, I think everything is set for the prologue-esque event. Onto the main event, an 80 races long rundown with a combination of sprint races, speed trap and relay races. As for the rewards aside of the Speedtail, these are in my opinion a bit underwhelming, can be said. The total sum comes down to 3,100,000 cash, 395 gold coins, 1,730 bronze keys, 70 silver keys, 10 gold keys, 10 uncommon, 9 rare and 9 epic fusion parts, with only 4 stage 6 parts, where 3 are for the third lock-in and 1 for the Speedtail. If we compare this to the build-up events, which were for 2 lock-ins each and 40 races long, we see that we get 175,000 less cash, only 75 more gold coins, we get 14 less uncommon fusion parts, but 3 more epics, a lot more bronze keys, which I do like, but 30 less silver keys and the same amount of gold keys. So it is double the amount of races and triple the amount of cars used and 5 times the amount of paid cars, but rather same-ish or even lower rewards. Yes, we do get a car, that's true, but if you were to compact the fact that for each build-up event you had to pay 20 bucks for 1 car and now you have to pay for 5 cars, I would expect a lot more in terms of rewards. And definitely if you need to get those 5 cars with quite rare fusion parts, making it a quite expensive event. A higher reward would make it more worth it than it is now in my opinion. Just my 2 cents for the future. A finale should be this great big event, which it is, but only in terms of length in this case. It's not in proportion really. As for the lock-ins and their difficulties, you're free to choose the order in which you put in the cars. For this event, I used my dummy account as I'm too low on time to make a video using my main account. I put them all on stage 5 first to see how far I would get without stage 6 parts, but I didn't get as far as I expected. The times I'll be showing are for this lock-in order. If you change this around, you might experience different hardest times, but the difficulty level, I believe, should still roughly be the same. For the first lock-in, I decided to use the TVR Sagaris, and for this car it starts out rather easy, but then it gets really hard out of nowhere. The hardest challenge here was a race which required multiple stage 6 parts, alongside having it already fully fused. I was able to get the hardest race done only with 4 extra parts. Perhaps with the right combination you might just beat it with only 3, but I think that will be the bare minimum requirement, which I find rather hard. The hardest race came on race number 55, and between race number 1 and this race, there aren't many parts you get for this car. You don't get a single stage 6 part and only a handful of fusion parts, which is definitely not enough. Tune that I ran for the hardest race being a 10.9. For reference, a stage 5 tune fully fused for this car is a 12.0. Now the second lock-in, and here I decided to choose for the noble M600. And unlike the Sagaris, I was able to beat the hardest race for this car only running on stage 5. But you don't really get to use this car often. I don't even have a recording of the hardest solo race, as that one was before race 40, before I started recording every single one of them individually. Which means this car basically stays untouched in a non-relay race for the majority of the event, which is a shame. It only comes back for a speed trap, which can be beaten running a nifty stage 5 tune and a good run. Tune and pattern for the speed trap. This far, the second lock-in should be the easier one of the two. The third lock-in then, the one rewarding you the 3 stage 6 parts, and I decided to put out the Ultima RS. Not only because it's a fan favorite, but also because if you want extra parts, you can use your bronze keys to open up special crates. To get the first stage 6 part, you need to beat a time of a 17.143, which is basically a stock run. To get the second one, on race 38, you have to hit 365 km/h or 227, which can also be done running stage 5 fully fused comfortably. But then the last stage 6 part rewarded on race 58 is a different story. Here you will have to own multiple stage 6 parts, and at least 3 as the time to beat here is well below 8 seconds. A harder time than the Best of British Ultima RS event, which had a final time of an 8.3, so quite a big gap. While I think a finale should be actually more doable. The tune that I ran and that final time. The fourth lock-in is again an easier one. Here I chose to run with the Ginetta Aquila, which on stage 5 is the second slowest of the bunch, just slightly faster than the M600. So I was expecting more of a challenge, seeing how hard it was for the Ultima RS. But the hardest race came on race 57, where it was a head-to-head, and this stage 5 tune helped me out a lot to get past this hurdle. The only car left then is the McLaren Senna, and this is the car you'll mainly use in the last leg to unlock the speed tail on race 69. So basically you lock it in on race 61 and only use it for 10 races. The hardest one-on-one race was a piece of cake on stage 5, but then the speed trap was a completely different story. This is a race where you will need 2 stage 6 parts to hit the 490 km/h mark. Perhaps even if there is a perfect stage 6, it might be done with 1. I had to run turbo and nitrous, and I got past it with this tune. Once you got the speedtail delivered, you can lock it in the final slot for the Best of British finale. Here, same story, you will only use this car for the final 10 races, which I think is kind of a shame. On stage 5 fully fused for this car, you can get it to the third to last race. But to win the stage 6 spot on the second to last race, you will have to reach a rather challenging 529 km per hour, which requires again 2 stage 6 spots fully fused to reach. Here are in the transmission and the nitrous. This is the tune that I was using, which is roughly the same as the stage 5 tune, but with a lower final drive. So that is it for the hardest races. Slots 2 and 4 seems to be the most possible ones, but slots 1 and 3 have the hardest times. And slot 5 I think can be considered as average, but it will still require a stage 6 part on top of it being fully fused. So now we have that one set, the final 6-way relay race, and it's actually quite a close one this time around. A little bit nail baiting at the end as well. I have to say I did not retune the cars for the quarter mile and I had some sloppy shifting, so that's maybe why I was so slow at some points, but it's still a nice race to watch. Now the question is, to what degree is it worth it? If you have to start from scratch and you have to buy all these cars using a bundle, I would say think twice. You don't only have a minimal amount of fusion parts to work with, you still need to find the cash to upgrade 5 cars if you want to fully finish the event. And that's not even to think about the crates you will need to buy to be able to even get to the speedtail. If like many others you bought the cars beforehand when they came out, like I did, you have a big head start, and for them it should be a more doable event. And this is where I think Natural Motion dropped the ball, and I cannot stress this enough. The value for money isn't there. The Bugatti event being hard was understandable because you had a mix of better crates, easier to get parts and free to win cars. Well, here we are talking about new manufacturers with crates behind a paywall and an event not rewarding enough parts to catch this up, because you get a total of only 28 fusion parts for 6 cars. There are great aspects like the crates, these are good, one free one a day with a guaranteed loyalty by the time the event ends, and you can also buy special key crates for the Ultima RS. But the event itself has some mistakes, and the first one is, why push 6 cars over 80 races? Why not make it 5 cars over 100 races and have a ladder for the speedtail afterwards with other rewards? Because right now you only use a car for 10 races and that's it. And you still have to invest 7 million in-game cash and also some real cash on crates to get them fast enough. Like, it's not really worth the upgrade time even. Spread it out some more, and the same goes for difficulty level and rewards. I'm still confused to why we get 4 stage 6 parts to only 2 out of the 6 cars, with 3 out of those 4 going to the car in the third slot alone. Why make it also so hard for one car and for the other car easier? It seems to me that Natural Motion is overcomplicating things a bit. This is by no means meant as a criticism to what people do, just my thoughts on where it could be slightly improved to raise enjoyability for the future. I could go on and on this, but I think I'll cut it short here. It's a nice event, but I don't feel as satisfied as with the Best of British build-up races. It's more like an anticlimax. Is it worth it for you to start from scratch and to build all this up to win the speedtail, starting from just a discount bundle? I would say no, not really. Though, for example, the Senna and the Ultima RS are great cars to add to your collection separately. But to find 30 million cash to upgrade those 5 cars and all the parts through crates to pay some extra money, and in the end, maybe not even winning the speedtail, I don't think it's worth the risk. And from that we can basically learn, if you know a big car can be won in the future through a finale, don't wait for the finale to come up to buy those cars in a cheaper bundle, buy the cars in the build-up phases, because you will get free crates for those over 7 days, and those 7 free crates might save you 7 paid crates at the finale. And that's it then, more than my 2 cents, but it's up to you what you take from this. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this video, do not hesitate to leave a like. Subscribe for more content like this. My name is Mille. See you around, and for the last time, cheerio!